let's go to the next part, which is select and manipulate objects. We already looked at move, rotate, scale, channel box, attribute editor. So what we can look at now is alignment, snap to grid, point, line, etc. and how you can manipulate the pivot. The pivot point is actually this thing, which you can this is the gizmo, or how you would call it, to manipulate this object. And yeah, it's called a pivot. And yes, look out at how we can align certain things. So let's just make here another cube. It's now underneath this one because it's at 0, 0, 0. So let's move it out of the way and see there's another one. So if you don't see it, it's probably underneath the other one. So that's not align it, so it's not aligned at all. We can see that here, the top view or the front view or the side view. So now let's say we want to align this with the same height, for example. So we can shift select them both. So with shift you select, you add to selection. With control you deselect. You can see this minus. With shift you can't see the plus, but it's actually adding. So so we have that, and we can go to modify, and then we can go to align tools, or snap align object actually, and then align objects. So if you hit these the square, you can go to the options of this align object. So let's go to the options menu, and within this menu, world X, world Y, or world Z, and you can do a certain align mode, which is the minimum, max, and so forth. If you would do like a mid, it's like in the middle of both of them, both the objects, and you hit, for example, Y, and you hit apply, you can see they both go in the same height, and height is Y. Same goes for, if we undo this, Ctrl Z it. If we would do that, for example, for a Z, we can hit apply, and then it would align it on the Z-axis, which is like that. That's alignment. So we also said let's look at snapping. Snapping is for me done with shortcuts, but you can also do it with these ones. These are all snaps, like a magnet, you can see here. So for example, if I would like to snap this one on a vertex, like they have all these vertices here, let's snap it. So how to snap that? You can hit the V button on the keyboard. You can also see it's hitting this. This is for vertex snapping, and I can just drag it there, and then it would snap to a certain point. So now it's snapped. Oh, it's snapped onto this vertex, and we can look at that. If we hit 4 on the keyboard, we can go into wireframe and can see, okay, it's exactly in the middle of this. We can also move it around again and go to somewhere else, and exactly there in the middle it is. By the way, 5, if you hit 5 on the keyboard, you go back to shaded mode, and you can see the shades again. If you want to snap to, for example, the grid, so let's move this one away and snap this cube to the grid, you can hit the X button. You can see here X is going to this grid snapping. So now also you can see this selection is changing. So I hit it now, and I can move it around, and it's perfectly snapping on the grid. You can even see it here. If I move it, it's snapping on the grid now. So you can also snap onto a curve, but before that we need to have a curve. So we don't really have a curve now. So let's go to curves, surfaces, and okay, let's just add this curve. So there's a curve here. Let's snap this one onto this curve. It's a bit trickier. So let's see on the top view, for example. So this one we wanted to have on a curve, which is actually the C button. So we can hit C and see if we can, yeah. So, and now I'm just hitting middle left mouse button, and it's snapped on. I could not do this perfectly like this. So it's snapped on this. Yeah. So if I deselect and would do the same, you can see I cannot. So it's snap with C on that. So that's snapping. And then we also want to look at how to manipulate the pivot point. So the pivot point is most of the time in the middle if you add something. Actually, maybe all of the time. but sometimes you want to maybe have it move like a rocket. For example, this is a rocket, and you want to rotate it, or its arm could also be an arm, rotate it on from here and not from the middle. You're like, yeah, that's way handy, right? So then you need to move this pivot point, or scale it from there even. So how to move it? You can press the D button, push it down, so deselect D, and now it will rotate from this point. Like that. And oh, I zoomed in on this part, by the way. I focused on it with the F button. I say a lot of shortcuts. Please look up a cheat sheet for this, for all the shortcuts. It's very handy. And you can also scale from this point on now. And it's not perfectly aligned. If you want to do that, you need to go into this front view or side view and then perfectly align it so it's actually scaling not underneath or really weird. So now it's perfectly scaling this side. So that's how you can manipulate the pivot, but now maybe you want to have it perfectly in center again. So to do that, you can go to modify and say center pivot. And you can do that, so now it's perfectly in the center again, as you can see here.